Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we are focusing on a very important change that was made within Warzone 2 here in regards to the TTK, and basically it's going to affect the majority of gunfights. At least you would think every single gunfight to a certain extent, and it's something that there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of question about recently, and this is the armor damage. It actually took a strange twist here recently. Obviously with season 4 we saw the major change to health that impacts the TTK of every single gun and slows things down a significant amount, but there's actually more to it than just that. If we actually look at the initial patch notes for season 4, you can see they mention armor damage. So they say the new changes to the player health, which is increasing it to that extra 50 health for base health, not armor health, but just straight up base health. And the application of armor damage ultimately results in the time to kill feeling slower. While a few select weapons are listed below, it's important to note that most weapons will see their effectiveness altered as a result of the change to armor damage. Now, you might recall that for some time here within season 3 and beyond, up until now most recently, we've seen various different patch notes that say added a maximum armor damage to this weapon or added a minimum armor damage to this weapon, which means that if an enemy has armor equipped, if you're hitting a vital part of the body, upper chest, neck, head, those higher damage areas, you're only going to do a maximum amount of damage if somebody is wearing armor. And for minimum armor, if you're hitting a limb or an extremity, if an enemy has armor, you'll always be guaranteed to do this amount of damage, right? So just makes damage feel a little bit more consistent across the board. But then that changes when you break an enemy, when they have no more armor plates equipped and you're just hitting flush shots, which now they have more health, obviously, per season 4. So I want to look at Sim here and explain basically now why certain weapons start to feel a lot worse than you might think when you factor in, okay, this gun does this much damage here, but it feels like the TTK is way worse than what that comes out to with the shots to kill. So big shout out to sim.gg for having all the data mine stats here, and it makes this really, really simple to see. So I got a couple of different weapons I want to look at here. Initially, this whole armor damage thing was introduced basically to make the close range TTK feel slower. They wanted to make it so that SMGs couldn't just absolutely fry if you landed 1 or 2 headshots and make a gunfight over in the snap of a finger, right? So that's why this was initially introduced. And so when we look at this really quick, I want to focus on just straight up multiplayer health here, which is 100 health, obviously with no plates involved. And you can see we've got these stats for the MP5, and I'll actually go ahead and scroll up here for the face cam to not be blocking it. You can see the MP5 is dealing 20 damage to the head at 36 meters, but if we close that up and it's the first 8 meters, it does 44 damage to the head, 34 to the neck, 32, 34, 32 to the upper torso area. But then obviously that changes as you adjust the distances from 16.5 to 23 meters, 26 to the head, 20, 20, 19, 19 for the upper body. But then you get different values as you start to input damage. If we were to go to Battle Royale health, even with 1 plate, it doesn't matter if you have 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate here, the damage is going to be adjusted. So if we go back to 8 meters, you can see it actually caps out, and I can zoom in even more here to make it even more clear for you guys. You can see it caps out at 30 HP to the head. There's no head multiplier here, essentially. It's the same as the upper body, and curiously enough, it's actually the same everywhere for the MP5 in on the first 9 meters or so, which is kind of interesting. But then you extend out to a little bit further, all the way out to 16 meters, and then it caps out at 30 to the head, 25, 25, 23, 23. You'll see that you're never actually doing more than 30 damage to the head, and that's that maximum armor damage being put into place. This is where things start to get interesting, because while this was initially intended for the close range meta, it now actually impacts the long range meta as well. If we go through and we look at the RAL here, and we go through and we add on 1 plate of armor to change things up, then you'll notice at 53 meters, it's doing 43 damage to the head, 41 and 34 respectively to the upper torso there, but that's a little bit of a drop off, but still really strong. However, even if you were in its maximum damage range, which is that close range where it's going to have the fastest TTK, still only 43 to the head. So regardless of if you're fighting at 10 meters with a weapon or 150 meters, it's only going to do a certain amount there, which really does have a large impact if you're fighting an enemy with armor. And obviously obviously here in Warzone 2, you're spawning in with armor, you're going to constantly be hitting armor as an enemy is replating up in a gunfight, so you're always going to run into this scenario where, sure, it might feel like you are frying, you're hitting only headshots, you're hitting only upper body shots, but your damage is actually being capped out. And a weapon that really exemplifies this well is the Kastov 7.62. Headshot multiplier gets capped out at 35 and basically creates a scenario where there is no headshot multiplier, at least in that initial damage range. 51 meters and beyond, you can still do that slight headshot multiplier, 35 over 27 for the long range, so it'll be a little bit more rewarding, but still nothing like what a true headshot reward would be if this armor damage system was not in place. So basically the way that it breaks down is that every single gun in the game, if you are fighting somebody with armor, is going to be capped out. It's not going to have a max damage potential, going to be limited on your damage output. And that's why this TTK here suddenly feels so much slower for certain weapons. The Kastov being one, but even some of the other heavier hitting weapons, you might say, okay, man, it feels like on paper, this should be frying. You know, I'm dealing a ton of headshot damage. The shots to kill shouldn't be this much, but then you start hitting those armor damages and those values. And obviously, in no gunfight ever are you going to hit 7 straight headshots, right? In no gunfight ever are you hitting every single bullet to the neck hitbox or the upper arm hitbox. You're going to vary between a bunch because of how recoil works and how enemy movement works. So the TTK here actually got a much larger slowdown than what you might think initially if you just simply say, okay, there's 50 extra health now on a weapon that deals 25 damage. That's 2 more shots to kill. Doesn't always add up to that. So definitely beware of that. I've seen a lot of questions saying, Zach, this weapon is way worse now. What happened? It should be good. This is the answer. This armor damage stat here, again, 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, doesn't matter. If armor is in play, the damage is going to be different. So a little bit of a PSA here for that. Hopefully this helped explain things a little bit more. If you guys enjoyed the video though, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, if you want to stay up to date with all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.